Everyone out there, my name is Dee, and I want to tell you today about a very interesting book that I picked up recently on my Amazon Kindle. Wanted something to read that was kind of humorous, but still kind of serious, kind of could cross the line between both those genres, which is very hard to do. And I found a book called Bob, and it's written by an author named Tegon Mouse. I might be saying the last name wrong, but it's spelled M-A-U-S, so apologies to Tegon if I'm saying that wrong. Anyways, when I read it, I have to be honest, it kind of took me off guard, but the more I started to read it, the more I really enjoyed it. And now I don't want to give away too much, so I'm just gonna kind of try to skirt around the plot, because if I say too much, maybe you might understand what the big reveal is at the end, which is kind of an interesting and funny reveal, but at the same time, it still kind of makes you wonder, did it or didn't it? And I don't want to explain more than that. So anyways, just a very quick $2 tour here. We're dealing with a gentleman, a news reporter, who's, well, actually newspaper man. His name is Peter Anderson. He's been on the job, almost 3 decades, and, feels like his career is sort of just there, but, he's just going through the motions at this point. And what happens is he is sent to do kind of like a little fluff piece about lights in the sky over Arizona. And when he does that, he ends up getting into something far more bigger and far more mysterious and crazier and stranger than he could have ever possibly anticipated. And it all starts with him meeting a gentleman who goes by the name of Dmitry Rurik Petrova. I believe that's what his name is, Dmitry Rurik Petrova, but you're gonna know him as Bob. And that's what's so funny, because again, the very first thing you wonder is, how'd you go from Dmitry to Rurik? And and of course, he says, well, I'm in America, so my name's Bob. And the logic there, as skewed as it is, somehow works. And that same kind of crazy logic is applied throughout all the conversations that Bob has with Peter throughout the rest of the book. And again, it's something that is kind of the humor to the story, because their interaction, Peter and Bob's dialogue, their exchanges, they go from not being necessarily friends at the beginning to, I'd say, being decently okay friends. They kind of have each other's back. And the story really kind of picks off when they end up finding a woman named Emma Greenwood in a basement, nailed to a table of sorts, and they rescue her from the people that took her. She heals very quickly and just, summarily begins to pronounce she's from the future and is actually what is known as an enhancer. Now, the really funny part of this book, the part that I really enjoy the most, and I am going to tell you a bit about this, is that, as Peter and Bob are, mostly Peter is finding out about Emma and who she is and why she's so special, and if she is in fact from the future or not, is that basically, because she's an enhancer, she enhances things around her, such as, like, for example, sex. So they go to a mall and everyone proceeds to kind of start having sex around her, because she's enhancing all their feelings for each other as everyone's around each other. It's hysterical. It's something that I would love to have seen on like a TV or a movie if this was ever adapted into either of those mediums, just because I think the visual alone would be hysterical. Something out of like True Blood's end of season 2 there, if I can make the connection, just, when they're having that sort of crazy sexual debauchery escapade with like all those people. That's what I immediately thought of. It was kind of funny like that. Anyways, Emma presents her own interesting set of problems and things that don't quite make sense with her narrative, but that's intentional. The author Tegon definitely is stringing you along to the end until you finally find out who Emma is, in fact, even who Peter is and who Bob is, and it's just all going to come down to a few very simple words, and, that's basically, it's okay, I have a cousin. I'm paraphrasing, but you get the idea. Bob says it constantly. In fact, it's almost every chapter is ended with that phrase. And again, a bit of humor, but at the same time, a huge clue as to where the story is going. You don't even realize it till you're there. And then once you're there, you're like, oh, I get it. So good. This is definitely one of those fun, interesting pieces of science fiction with a little bit of alien humor in it, with a little bit of Russian humor, I guess, because Dmitri being Russian and all, and just the way he translates being in America with his own culture. Peter, I think we can all identify with. We've all been down in the dumps, we've all been down on our luck, things like that. Just the great epic tale narrative is here, but it's not so epic that it's pretentious. It doesn't come off like, oh, this is a great big important story you have to read. I mean, we're not talking, it's not a Harry Potter or anything like that. It's not the Bible, but it's just a fun read. That's what I was looking for. That's exactly what I got. And I encourage everyone out there to check it out because it really wasn't something I was expecting to be a great read. Oh, and I should mention, it's a quick read. It's not terribly, terribly long. And I found that I read it literally in one day, which is good because I needed something that I wanted to just read fast. I was actually using it for a trip I was going on. I had a 6-hour flight. I wanted something to just kind of check out. And it worked very, very, very well for me. So I like that. I was sitting in the airport, pretty much had it done before I even boarded the plane. And I like that. I thought it was really cool. It made me think. It made me, really smile many, many, many times. And again, I don't want to give away too much in the plot other than what I've just mentioned because, again, I think if I said too much, you would figure out the story probably just from what I'm going to say. But basically, as, Emma is helped to be escaped, gets she escapes thanks to Peter's and Bob's help, and Peter slowly kind of becomes involved with Emma, or at least seems to like her a lot, or maybe that's just her enhancing his like for her. Who knows? I think what's really interesting is that it also kind of tails back into the whole overall narrative about these lights in the sky that was being investigated, what they're about, how dangerous they are. Along the way, of course, you're also going to meet a whole colorful cast of characters, everything, from people in science to bad guys that just are out there to bruise and just hurt, and then some. And then, of course, you're going to meet some people at the very end that are really going to make you question some things. And that's why Bob is so great. Again, it's a nice, tight little narrative, very well written. In terms of Tegon, the author, definitely a lot of great editing was put into this. I didn't find really any mistakes. In fact, I don't really think I found a single one. That's always nice when you can get something from an author who, isn't published by, Harper and Collins, let's say. Although I do believe it has been published with an actual publishing company, but it didn't matter to me because, again, the story was that good. I actually forgot about all that. I didn't care. I didn't go into it thinking, oh, I'm just reading some author's attempt at being an author. I never felt that. And what I felt as I read it was that I'm getting into a story that I can actually feel and believe. I'm reading a story by an author who understands you don't have to put an adjective in front of every single noun, that I can actually use a little bit of my own imagination to come up with what I'm reading, which I love because a lot of authors, especially first-time authors, make that horrible mistake of having to identify every single thing in the room literally and in details to the point of ad nauseum, to where I don't have to do anything. I'm literally so passive, I don't have to be active in the story. Not so with this. There was a right amount of balance of description and my interaction to make me think of what I was reading. Very, very good. I give it 5 stars. I'm definitely not one of those people that likes to give anything 5 stars because I'm very critical. That's just how I am. But it was a pleasant, enjoyable read. And in fact, I'd read it again, and I probably will. That's how much I like it. I never read books twice. But it is seriously one of those books you can actually do that with. Again, it's called Bob. It's by Tegon Mouse. You can find it on Amazon. Probably pretty much wherever books are sold. But definitely, that's where I got mine on Amazon. So I'm just going to say go to Amazon and check it out there. I'm sure you'll see it, and again, have fun with it because it is a good read. Don't go into it thinking your life's going to change or anything. Just go into it thinking, hey, I need some time to kill. I want to read a great story. I want to laugh. I want to think about, maybe a little bit of scientific stuff. I want to think about a girl who's an enhancer, which is just such a great idea. I love that idea. I wish there were enhancers here in real life, and who knows, maybe there are. Maybe this is based on real life, and we just don't know that. And I'll leave that with sort of a cryptic yet interesting clue to where the story actually goes by the end. But I'll leave it at that, people. Enjoy. Have fun with Bob like I did. I hope you do. I know you will, actually, because it is just one of those stories that really does what it's supposed to do, which is to make you smile, make you have fun, make you forget about your life for a while, and Bob does exactly that. And it's okay, because I have a cousin. Take care. Have a good one, guys. Enjoy.